Hey guys, this is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. Thanks for coming. It's a Saturday night, and I just put this together at the last minute. I know I didn't give you guys much notice. It was really just today, but I figured, if you're in the mood, and hopefully you're in the mood as well. So just let me know if you can see me and hear me. Just anything in the chat, so this way I'll know that we're good to go. And we're just gonna basically shoot the breeze. Today we're gonna do a really cool tutorial in addition to just chatting. What we're going to do is, let me just close this here, and okay, so hopefully you'll see this. It's basically making a hey guys, all right, great. I can see you and hear you, Zypher, Kenton. Yeah, great, fantastic. I love it, because you never know when you're doing live streams. It's sometimes it's well. Fortunately for me, I've been lucky. I think there was just one time where there was a little bit of a glitch because there was slow mode and fast mode and that kind of thing. Bryce Johnson asks, "Hey Marty, how you doing?" I'm doing super. I hope you're doing well too. I'm trying to. Somebody from England sent me a message earlier that's basically said it's like 3 in the morning there. Each one of my live streams I do on a different day and at a different time to pretty much accommodate everyone who's watching. Because I have people watching from Italy and Paris and Germany and Australia and that kind of thing. So it's all over the place. So today I'm doing it at 10 o'clock New York time, and so it's going to be really early in the morning, like in Europe. But say in India, it's going to be like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. David Parry says, "Sounds good in Ottawa, Canada." Excellent, excellent. David Trama, hi from Mexico. Hello. DC Watashi, hey from Washington State, the Evergreen State. I didn't know that. That's great. I love Washington State. Stayed at Mount Rainier overnight. It was wonderful. Just a beautiful. Washington is a gorgeous state. Johnny Carmo says, "I don't speak English, only Portuguese, Brazilian. Sorry." That's okay. You're welcome to just hang. Wow, Flytown, 4 a.m. Greeting from Albania. Mube says it's 4 a.m. in Germany now, but I still watch. I'm really, I'm really glad, man. We could just hang out, have a good time. Today I'm gonna show you how to make a photo like this, or it could be any photo you want, into a pastel drawing, really, really quickly. It's a great technique. It's a great technique. It's very, very simple. It's not just using the filter gallery, the pastel thing in the filter gallery. I mean, notice all of the highlights in here, like in the dress. It's really, really cool, and it's very effective. So I thought, now this tutorial I'm going to be doing this live in a few weeks. So this is sort of like a preview, okay? Obviously, when I publish it live, you'll be able to pause the video and stop it and that kind of thing. But if you happen to have a photo that you want to work on this evening with me, feel free to do so. I just hope I'm not going to be going too fast this evening. But again, when I publish it in a few weeks, it'll be good. It's 9 a.m. in Hong Kong. Wai Lung Chan says, "Oh, that's good." By the way, Wai Lung, just FYI, my tutorials are going to be seen in China very shortly. An educational Chinese company contacted me, excuse me, and I licensed 100 tutorials for their Chinese viewers. So you'll be able to check out my tutorials there. If you can't, you know, get on YouTube. I think there's another way, VPN or something like that in China. I'm not sure. Hi, I am from Dubai. Hi. The name is in Arabic, so I don't speak Arabic. So, okay. From Thailand at 9:05 a.m. That's really great. I'm really glad you guys are here. All right, so I guess the first thing to do is to check its size and resolution, because the size doesn't matter that much, but the resolution does matter. So what you do is you go to image and image size, and the size, as I say, could be anything, but the resolution is the key. I have it at 150 pixels per inch, and the reason that's important is because a lot of the filters that we're going to be applying, the settings are going to be meant for 150 pixels per inch. Now you can use a photo that's 72 pixels per inch or 300 pixels per inch, but you're going to have to adjust the settings, the amounts in the settings of the filters, to accommodate the smaller or larger size, resolution size of your photo, if you get my drift. Okay, yeah, David Trauma says it sounds great with landscape. You can apply this to a face, to pretty much to anything. It's a really good effect. So, and by the way, while I'm on so if you guys, there's a thing called Super Chat. If you want to, YouTube allows live stream viewers to pay like a nominal fee, whatever, and you could be in Super Chat, and this way your question or comment will be pinned to the top. So this way I could answer your questions, because this is going by very, very quickly, and I might not be able to see your your question or comment. Dennis Shoulder says, "Hello, Marty, Indiana here. I watch you all the time, never miss a new video." Thanks, Dennis. I really appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube instructors out there, and each of us has our own technique, and you can learn from all of us. Line Chart says, "I always thought you were a robot." Yeah, I get that a lot, because I'm not on camera this is like my only chance in these live streams that I can have a one-on-one with you live, but pretty much for the most part, my tutorials, you don't see me on camera. And the way I speak, my voiceover, I speak very slowly and almost mechanical or robotic. And I do that specifically because a lot of my viewers, many of my viewers, don't speak English as their first language, and it's a lot easier to understand when I speak slower. I guess it's an acquired taste. Anywho, so you got the size down. Now the first thing you want to do is convert your photo into a smart object. What that does is basically allows you to modify the photo non-destructively, meaning that you can make changes and add filters and do whatever you want to do without destroying the original photograph. When you create filters on a smart object, they're called smart filters, and you'll see what I mean in a second. You're going to click the icon in the upper right of the layers panel, and you're going to click Convert to Smart Object. And what that does is it's a smart object because there's a little icon right in the lower right corner and when you see that, you know it's a smart object. It says Sir44 says I'm a level advanced English speaker, according to TOEFL, and I can say you speak very clearly. Very good, thank you. I'm hoping that's the case. Dubai loves you. Signed, Mr. Popo. P-O-P-O. Sir44 says, my native language is Spanish, but I've been taught English since kindergarten. Fantastic, great. Well, it's like a lot of the English expressions, or American expressions, or, people in the United States might get oftentimes what I say. But if it's sometimes when, like, I do these subtitles, I make sure that I translate all of my audio into, I just kind of cut and paste it into the YouTube subtitles. But oftentimes, I might say something in English that's understandable, but to someone who doesn't speak English on a regular basis, you probably do because you were taught English since kindergarten. But it helps. It helps with these subtitles. So if any of you guys find it difficult understanding maybe some of the words I say, click the CC icon at the lower right corner of the video and click your native language, and it'll translate what I'm saying. It's not perfect, but most of it is understandable, so you might want to give that a go. Okay? All right. Hi, Kenton, straight out of Jamaica. All right, so it's a smart object now. So we're going to go in. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Filter, okay, and Filter Gallery. And what that does is it opens it up into this thing. Now you have a lot of choices, a lot of folders here. What you want to do is click Artistic, open Artistic up, and click Paint Daubs, which is right here. Okay. Now you have brush size and sharpness. I'm setting it to 15 and 40 because that's the effect. After a lot of experimentation doing this tutorial, I found that 15 and 40 works the best. Now feel free to experiment with these. I mean, you could bring the brush size all the way up here, down there. The sharpness can, but again, 15 and 40 works for this particular tutorial, so that's what we'll do. And and the brush type is simple, okay, and click OK. All right. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to convert this image, this visible image, into a smart object. And I'll explain why in a second. So again, we're going to make it into a smart object. Now, the reason I'm doing this is it's going to add the next filter that we're going to add on top of the paint daubs. In other words, it's going to affect this image that has already been affected with paint daubs. All right, if I didn't change it into a smart object, it would affect the original photo and not the combined photo with the paint daubs on it, if you understand. So we're going to go back to Filter and Filter Gallery, and this time we're going to click Rough Pastels. Okay, now in this case, the stroke length, and again, I find that these settings work for me, but feel free to experiment. The stroke length is 40, and if I reduce it down, you can see, what's happening to the image. The stroke detail is 1. Again, if I bring it all the way up, it's really going to make it, the diagonal strokes, much more intense. So we want to minimize that to 1. The texture is canvas. This gives a really beautiful pastel-like paper. The paper, when you're using the medium of pastel, you want a paper that has a lot of texture to it. That texture, in the terminology, it's called tooth. So when a paper has a rough tooth to it, this is what you basically see. Okay, watercolor paper is the same way. So the more texture it has, the more tooth it has. The scaling is 200%. If I reduce the scaling down, the tooth is scaled down as well, and it doesn't have that same effect that I want for a pastel drawing. And then the relief is 50. That gives the intensity of the pastel effect. Okay, so we're going to make that 50. The light can be anything. I'm using from the bottom because if they're on stage, oftentimes the lights are kind of shining up. In this particular case, it's really not, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, if I have it from the top, it doesn't really make that much of an effect. You know, it's very, very subtle. Okay, and then you click OK. Unique Digital says, Sir, I am Bismillah Mia from the Unique Digital Studio. I'm very happy to meet your channel. I really appreciate your videos. I follow your all kind of video, really. You are my idol. I mean, it's I'm humbled. You know, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you following my tutorials, seriously. It says, Octavius Cummings asks, how can we learn Photoshop like you, sir, because I'm beginner? Give me some advice. My advice is basically, you know, as the saying goes, you know, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Meaning, you know, just put one foot in front of the other. Just start, just watch my tutorials, just kind of pick up what you can on it. Watch other instructors. I mean, it's, you know, it's a very deep program, but it's not difficult. And it's like driving a car, you know what I mean? Like in the beginning, you're intimidated. When you first get into a car, all of these dials, and you got the, you know, the brakes and the this and that. But, you know, after a few months and after a few years, you know, it's like breathing. You don't even think about it, you know. In Photoshop, I mean, you do have to think about it, what you're doing, but you know what all the tools can do. So it's, your hand and brain kind of works together, and you just make it happen. R says, party with Marty. You got that right, pal. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make this into a smart object. Now, the next filter we add is going to be affecting our visible image as we see it. So we're going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery, and this time we're going to close the artistic folder, and we're going to open up the sketch folder, and we're going to click Chalk and Charcoal. Okay? The charcoal area is 6, the chalk area is 6, and the stroke pressure is 1. Again, just feel free to experiment with these. I find the best results are the ones that I picked, but you know, it could be anything for you, whatever you think, you know, works well for you. Okay. And then I'm going to click OK. Actually, let me go back, because I forgot one extremely important step, guys. I apologize. I have to first make a copy of this layer. To do that, you hit Control or Command J, and that makes a copy. Okay? Chris Palomino asks, or says, even using Photoshop since the 90s, you always have some new way of doing something and help me keep up to date with what's new. Thank you, Marty. Well, thank you, Chris. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and with each version that Photoshop comes out with every few years. I mean, I've been doing this. So I started doing the. I started my channel in the fall of 2011. And at that point, I believe I was using CS5 Extended. So I've been doing, so it went from CS5 Extended to CS6 Extended to CC, I think CC 2014, 2015, all the way up to now it's at 2018. Okay, so now that I have a copy of this, now what I'm going to do is go to Filter, Filter Gallery, and we're going to do the sketch 6, 6, and 1. Click OK. All right. We're going to change the blend mode from normal to luminosity. Now what that does is basically that picks up on the tonal range, the tones of the image from white all the way up to black. Okay, and it basically makes it see-through, so to speak. But I'm going to reduce the opacity to 50%. That basically makes it, like if I turn this off, you'll see that it's 50% in opacity, the luminosity layer. So, and now the last step is to increase its vibrancy and saturation. Okay, so you want to go to the adjustment layer icon, which is right here. Click vibrance, and what you're going to do is increase the vibrance all the way up to 100. Now, this particular photograph is pretty. It didn't have a lot of color. Okay, it was pretty somber looking. Your photograph most likely will have more color. If it does have more color, this is you're probably going to be finished at this point. However, if you want to make the color even more intense, you can do a number. You could either make a copy of the vibrance layer, which does that. But I prefer bringing up the saturation, which doesn't make it darker. It just basically just makes all the colors just incredibly rich. Now I brought both of these up to 100, which is the maximum amount. Again, you can do that with pastel because you want your pastel drawing to be artistic. You don't want it to look photographic. So you're going to want to basically make it look like a drawing, like a colorful painting almost, Now if I zoom way into it, well, this is at 100% now. You get some beautiful, just very subtle, beautiful effects here. I mean, look at the floor, this figure over here. You got some beautiful things happening, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that's how simple this is. And the beauty part about smart objects is that if you keep double clicking on a smart object until you get to the original source, which is this is all the way back to, I just kept double clicking on a smart object. It comes back to the source. Notice the smart filter it's non-destructive, so you didn't damage the original photograph at all. You can replace the photo with another without having to redo the effects, simply by placing the photograph here, closing it each time, and you're basically going to end up with a finished piece. And and that's it. So I'm going to go to some of the questions or comments here. It says here, Line Chart asks, isn't there a difference between duplicating Smart Object with Control-J and duplicating Smart Object by right-clicking Image and duplicating to New Smart Object? Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but I find that, like, I'll right-click it now, and you could basically, you got blending options and all of this. I mean, right-clicking doesn't really duplicate a layer, It, you can add another filter on top of a smart object just by, doing anything you want, to it. It'll just keep adding it to under it, as a smart filter. But, you're really just going to want to duplicate any layer whether it's a smart object or not, by pressing Control or Command-J, or bringing it down to new layer, dragging it down to new layer, which is another way of doing it. Hari Krishnan says, "Hi, I'm Harry from Kerala, India. Very interesting class, sir. I'm glad you like it." Line Chart says, right-click the image itself. Oh, okay. Well, I'm on a smart object here, and I'm right-clicking, and I'm basically getting, it's not really, I never did it that way, line chart. I never duplicated the layer that way, and from what I'm looking at right now, it doesn't look like it's possible. I mean, maybe you know of a way to do that, but line chart says with marquee tool selected and right-clicking on the main image. All right, so if I go to, so basically, the whole image is selected, and then when I right-click, I'm not really getting what you're saying, but maybe you can send it to me at my email address, which is bluelightningtv@gmail.com. Maybe take some screenshots, and I'll get back to you. Luxury Card Store asks, hi Marty, love your videos. What's the best way to use Photoshop to make coloring book pages? In parentheses, line art. There are many ways. I mean, I didn't do, actually that's probably a good idea to do at some point, a tutorial, so thanks for the suggestion. That's probably a really good idea. I mean, the thing is that, as you know, to make a coloring book page, it's basically line art. Now you can use filters. You can use the there's a lot of techniques. I mean, I just did a neon a tutorial. I don't know if it was posted yet or not. I think it was. Yeah, I believe it was. How to make your face into a neon sign. You basically would probably use that technique to create not the neon obviously, but to create the black line art. Another way, if you go to my channel and click on the magnifying glass, and a search field will open, and type in cartoon or comic. I did a number of tutorials that are similar to what you're saying. It's not exactly a coloring book, but you could gather enough information by going over, by watching these videos, what to do. But specifically, that's probably a good tutorial for me to work on next time. Ahmed Mayer asks, tell us about your story. How did you started and tips to be a graphic designer by self-learning, and thank you for existing. Well, thank you for existing. Well, okay, there's a couple of questions in there. How did you start becoming a graphic designer, and what are the tips? For me, I mean, everybody's different, but for me, when I was a senior in high school, I had to make a decision as to what I wanted to do for a living, and frankly, I didn't know what I wanted to do up to that point. I mean, I had some interests, but not, and I knew that, once I graduated high school, I either have to apply to a college that, where I would major in a subject that interests me, so I could earn a living, or just start working right after high school at a job that I want to do. In other words, I just didn't want to get a job. So I asked myself two questions. What do I want to do for the rest of my life, career-wise? And can I make a living at it? Can I make a reasonable living at it? And for me, the answer was the graphic design or graphic arts, or in that area. I did go to a school for advertising art and design, and I learned a lot of the tools. I learned basically typography and color. I transferred to another school, a fine arts school, and I finished there, and I got a job at an animation studio soon after that, and then a graphic design studio, and then ultimately I got a job at a television network in the United States at ABC, the American Broadcasting System. Was there for a year and a half, and then I was hired at NBC, the National Broadcasting System, and I was there for 35 years. And then I basically retired there like 8 years ago. I got an early retirement and grabbed it because I was ready, just to do my own thing. I did do my own thing when I was at NBC. I did a lot of freelance. I did book jacket covers, album covers, Broadway theater posters, logos, all of that stuff. As far as the tips go, Mr. Pope says, I don't want to be rude, but F it, yeah. As far as the tips, just do your thing. Just keep it simple, keep it dynamic. Make sure that you're communicating the idea that you want to communicate in the best possible way, and that's really about it. Matthew Simmons asks, "Are you also familiar with Adobe Illustrator or just Photoshop?" I did do Adobe Illustrator when I was at NBC. Also Adobe After Effects. But I haven't used them in like 8 years, and frankly, I forgot pretty much. If you don't use it, you lose it. And the only application that I've really continued to use is Photoshop. But the others, I don't really. I mean, I dabble in Illustrator once in a while now, but I don't. I find myself kind of like say, how do I do that again? That kind of a thing. After Effects, I've totally forgot how to do it, and I use that pretty much 90% of the time. It was After Effects, 10% of the time was Photoshop. So I was getting pretty good at After Effects. Although there were people there at NBC that just blew me away. They were so good at it, But I started late in After Effects. People were working on it for like years before I began it. But although I started Photoshop, I also started Photoshop a little on the late side because in television we worked on another tool called Quantel Paintbox, which was like the first foray in digital art. It was like in the mid-'80s before Photoshop really, became powerful enough to supplant it. The Tarek 15 says, "Hello, Marty, from France. Bonjour. Thank you for your videos. I hope to see when you could of the different currents of design as you have already done on the Swiss style and Bauhaus. Thank you." And it's 4:30 here. Well, thank you for staying up. I appreciate it. Swiss style, Bauhaus. There's a number of other art genres that I love. Art Deco. I love Art Deco. Art Nouveau is incredible too. But I find that would be better applied in Illustrator, Art Nouveau. But I mean, you could do that in Photoshop as well, obviously. But it's somebody says, I want a Ferrari. Yeah, I like a Ferrari too. I like a Tesla, actually. Frankly, they're beautiful. These are going by very, very quickly. Sir 44 says it's 8:34 here in Mexico. Muy Boy says, tu parles français. That might say, do you speak French? Maybe it doesn't. But no, I don't. Unfortunately. It's a beautiful language. Phoenix says, greetings from Germany. Greetings right back at you. MD Ershad says, can we combine two filters, sir, and how can we use colors? Yeah, we combined, see, 1, 2, 3, we combined 3 filters here, but each one was a smart object. You can add yeah, you could add basically filters to anything. I mean, you can add adjustment layers, any of the adjustment layers to it. You know, if you want to change the color balance of this thing, you can do that as well. You know, you can if you want to change the overall color of it, go into like hue and saturation and just kind of like play with the hue, the saturation, you know, that kind of thing. Or go into selective color. I mean, it's endless. There's so many things you can do in Photoshop. That's why I like playing around with it. It's 2:34 p.m. in New Zealand. Yeah, that's fantastic. I heard New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand, but I heard it's one of the most beautiful areas on Earth. I'd like to go to New Zealand at some point. Terror Jr. says, hello, Marty. Coming from Tacoma, Washington. Thanks for your help over the year. Yeah, I mean, you can, there's so many questions here. Barbara Groves asks, are you planning on doing more 3D tutorials in the future? I learned to make planets recently, but I would love to watch more of yours. As a matter of fact, if you look at the, I believe it's the lower left. It's going to come up in a second. I'm not even... Okay, yeah, the lower left. Right. Let's see, is it this way here? No, it's on this side, right down here. Yeah, that's a 3D tutorial that you're going to be seeing very shortly. It's basically a rust, like rusted metal. You could either use the rust on the text. It's basically custom wrapping a texture around text, lighting it on another background. In this case, it's rusted text on metal, or the reverse, which is sort of like metal, sort of like iron or steel over a rusted wall. But I wanted that kind of eroded kind of look to it. So I did that. I also did a recent 3D tutorial, white on white text, that I posted a few weeks ago. It's a very simple tutorial, but it showed you how to create like a beautiful white on white text, or you could use graphics too. You don't have to use text. You could take a logo or any other, as long as it's black and white. Okay, so if it's pure black on pure white, which is what text is initially. If you choose, black for your color in text, it's black on white. You can kind of create that white on white look using that tutorial. Somebody says, I own Lamborghini Aventador. That's fantastic. That's some car, man. Ahmed Mayer, good night. Says, hey man, that's enough. Got to get some sleep. I appreciate you being here. And you could watch the rest when you wake up, because this is going to be posted after this is finished here. Matthew Simmons says, are those actual printouts of your tutorial images behind you? Yeah, well, no, they're not. It's the background I created digitally. They're basically screenshots of the either the final image or like a sampling of the tutorial, and I kind of put them in a frame, placed them on a white wall. So it's a virtual image. They're not printouts. Rafael Hernandez says, hello, Marty. This is Rafael from Honduras. Can you help me to design a medical logo for a Congress? Thanks. Congrats. Well, I appreciate your the offer, but I tell you the truth, I get requests, multiple requests every week, asking to do, freelance, well, not freelance work, like favors, essentially. And I have to turn down freelance. I don't even do, I just have to turn pretty much everything down. My schedule is so full, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, thanks for the offer, though. MD Urshad says, sir, how can we make text like metal and fill a bunch of photos? I did a number of tutorials using a feature in Photoshop called Contact Sheet 2. Go to my channel, and again, click on the magnifying glass and type in Contact Sheet 2. Or you can type in Mosaic, and it'll show you basically how to fill a background with photos, and you can place them, using make text like metal. I mean, yeah, I mean you can, and then you could add the text, make it look metallic. I mean, I did many tutorials of text that looks like metal. So different kinds of metal. Medieval, rusted out, really sleek, like chrome. I mean, all sorts of metallic affected text. So you might want to type in my channel metal or metal text, and a bunch of tutorials will come up. So if you ever, if anybody wants to check out any subject to see if I did a tutorial on the subject that interests you, just go to my channel, click on the magnifying glass and type in the subject, and there's a very, very good chance that a bunch of tutorials will come up. It might not be exactly what you're looking for, but it could be close enough for you to use as a springboard to get to where you want. Zadi says, I'm really bad at drawing freehand and find using vectors gives me more control, but it ends up looking flat and 2D. How can I get better? That often happens like when you're using Illustrator, because it's vector based. Photoshop is raster based. First of all, my suggestion is the first thing you want to do is to make sure that you're drawing with a tablet and a wireless mouse. I find the best company is called Wacom, and I'm going to hold up the tablet here. I don't know if you can see it. Here's the tablet I use. Here's the pen I use. Okay, it doesn't have to be large, and it's basically it's pressure sensitive. And if you are drawing freehand like you are, this is the way to go. You do not want to use a mouse. For me, drawing with a mouse is like drawing with a brick. It's so not intuitive. It's great for typing reports and that, but not for drawing. So that's the first thing I would do. Also, let me see if I can, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in the later versions of Photoshop, I think it might be CC 18, actually, CC 20, excuse me, CC 2018. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'll fill it with black, and I'm going to put white on my pen or pencil. I'm going to open my pencil tool. Now, there's a thing called smoothing that, again, it's like one of the latest, it's in one of the latest, it might be 2018. I think it's only in 2018 at this point. Now, normally, so let me reduce the size, hold down my bracket key, and I'm just going to like basically draw a freehand here. Now you can see it's, you know, it's kind of like choppy. It's not perfect. However, if I bring the smoothing up, you could bring it all the way up to 100 and basically do the same thing. It's a lot smoother. You can see the difference. If you know, it's basically just kind of like, it allows you to draw, and sort of like the pen sort of like catches up with itself. You see the red line in there? If I stop, you see it eventually catches up to it. Okay? Without it, I mean, you can still, you know, but it's kind of, it's not as smooth. It's a little raggedy, if you know what I'm saying. So that's like a new thing that they had here. I forget what they actually call it. And this also works with the pen tool, not just the pencil tool, with pretty much any tool. So this oh, I'm sorry, your screen isn't showing. My apologies, guys. My apologies. I'm going to show you one more time here. Sorry about that. I'm going to put, okay, so basically here's the smoothing thing right now. It's at 0. So if I you know, draw, see, it's a little raggedy. You know, it's a little raggedy. But if I take the smoothing all the way up and do the same thing, there's see, I don't know if you can see that, there's a red line that eventually catches up to it. But it sort of like allows you to smooth, you know, it's a little bit smoother than this. So, you know, and it really makes a difference. You know? I hope someday to, by the way, to go to a one of those Adobe what do you call, expos or something, you know, and meet you guys at some point. That would be a lot of fun. You know, we can sort of like a little meet and greet kind of a deal. That was almost going to happen a few years ago. Adobe contacted me and they were going to do a thing in San Francisco. But they ended up saving money by just getting Photoshop trainers living nearby. Because I'm in New York and it would have been expensive for me to fly out and the whole thing. So I never actually went. But that would have been fun. Maybe at some point in the future that'll happen. Yeah, Zadi says a lot smoother. It is a lot smoother, yeah. S. Frank Stringham says, I'll have you sign my laptop. All right, just contact me at bluelightningtv@gmail.com, and maybe we could work something out. You know, I'll just sign it for you if you can ship it to me. Are you using Premiere Pro for video editing or something else? MD Urshad asks. No, I'm not. I'm actually using a, and that might be sort of like my next live stream, but what I can do is I can show you, it's called Camtasia. It used to be Camtasia Studio, now it's just called Camtasia. It's my screen recording software. I also use my, I also do my intro and outro animations in them, using it. It's you know, it's basically great for simple editing. It's a very robust screen recording application. If you guys are, if you ever want to, do this kind of thing on YouTube or whatever, just my suggestion is to use Camtasia, because it is really I think it's the most powerful application out there for screen recording. You can do zooms and pans, and there are things called call-outs where you can, little circles and arrows, and you can animate them too. You can animate the circles and arrows and that kind of thing, which is great. Francis B asks, do you have a green screen behind you? Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I do have a green screen behind me. That's basically how I'm basically being clipped out. And let me close this here. And I have two umbrella lights on either side of me to light me evenly. And so somebody before was bringing up the 3D thing. So I'm going to call it up here. Okay. Just to kind of show you what it looks like, what my finished Camtasia thing looks like. It's pretty complex. It looks pretty complex. It is pretty complex. But I'm sort of like a perfectionist. I really get into like the individual frames. There are 30 frames per second in video, at least. You can get away with 15, but now it's like 60 frames per second. But 30 is pretty much the standard. So, yeah, even if one frame is off, it's it bothers me, so I just have to edit it out. Phoenix says, "Sir, can you please answer my question?" I'm sorry, Phoenix. What is your question again? It says, "Who?" I did. Ravenloon asks will I do a tutorial focusing on the pen tool. I did an in-depth tutorial on the pen tool and making paths with the pen tool. Again, go to my channel, type in pen tool or paths, or send me an email, bluelightningtv@gmail.com, and I'll send you the link. But it's an in-depth tutorial on how to make work paths with the pen tool. It's old, but it's still relevant. The pen tool hasn't really, they did upgrade it recently, the pen tool, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same. So yeah, this is Camtasia, and for example, this is the narration, the audio file. For example, if I want, you could add like text, you fade it out. You can do basically, I'm going to close the audio here. So, for example, if I hit play, there might be a little stuttering here because, sometimes it is pretty complex, but see, what's happening is that I'm animating. I'm telling the hour to go down. I'm telling when the rotation sketches come in. That kind of a thing. I could zoom in really, and then flip it around, and you could pretty much do anything on here with Camtasia. It's a really, really good program. This is like one of the images you can create that I'm going to show you how to create. And then the other one is, where is it? Yeah, the other one is this basically. So anyway, Yeah, so that's basically Camtasia. S. Franklin Stringham says, I learned a bunch of info on your pen tool tutorial. That's great, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was my whole purpose. Mohammed Abdu says, I follow you from years, he says. I am so happy to see you. Now I like you and the way you make me like Photoshop, and very happy to write you. Now, good luck all times. Salus. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Somebody says, how are you? Knock on wood, I'm doing fine. This is great. I mean, it's just this like one-on-one is like really, really important to me to kind of just speak with you. Again, I'm not on camera. I'm not really, a lot of guys and gals, they're on camera a lot, and frankly, the ones that are doing very, very well on YouTube are the content creators that are on camera all the time. And you make a personal connection with your viewers when you're on camera all the time, and you get a lot of subscribers. I probably would have more subscribers than I have. He said, somebody says, how old are you? Another guy says he's 500 years old. I'm 502, actually. So, yeah, I look younger than I am, 502. Francis B. says, before I end up with a course with Adobe people, I dream of a course online with you. Well, thank you. I mean, I guess this is sort of like a little online course, right? In my own little way. Adam asks, do you use InDesign and Illustrator? I used Illustrator. I don't use InDesign. I don't use Illustrator anymore. Would you like to make a video editing tutorial in the future? I really need that. Yeah, I mean, what I'll do, maybe my next live stream, I'll do a really short tutorial using Camtasia. But the thing is, you need the application to really follow it. You follow what I mean? I mean, you could kind of like intellectually look at what I'm doing and say, okay, I see what he's doing, but if and not, I mean, it's not inexpensive. It's not overly expensive, but it's not inexpensive. I mean, I believe it's like $200 or $300 at this point, Camtasia. So not everybody can afford it. You know what I mean? That's the reason I don't, I don't do one. But for a live stream, I could just basically show you. S. Frank Stringham says, I'm 8 years old, but that's in doggy years. Yeah, that's pretty much what I am too. Cicero Gilreath says, greetings from the first state, Wilmington, Delaware. Greetings right back at you. Brandon81 asks, which version of Photoshop should we have? The latest. That's what I always tell people. The latest version is the version you should get. Right now, as I'm doing this live stream, that version is 2018, CC 2018. For $9.99 USD per month, you can download the latest version of Photoshop. You get Lightroom, which is great for photography, and you get 20 gigabytes of cloud storage for $9, for less than $10 a month. And it's always, whenever there's an upgrade, or updated, I should say, it's instant. They'll let you know when there's an update, and you just download it. I mean, Photoshop used to be, I'm talking like 15 years ago, it was like $600, something that was crazy money. So, and that just was for the physical copy. And that was just for that version. And then 2 years later, they'd come out with something else with the next version. It's crazy. So when you think about it, let's say if it's $10 a month, that's $120 a year. Okay, so you have it for 3 years. That's $360, but it's upgraded all the time, and then you get the next version. I mean, if you use it every day, then just go to Adobe's Creative Cloud Photography Plan. That's what it's called, the Creative Cloud Photography Plan. Pick the one with the actually it's two tera. Is it 1 terabyte? Oh, maybe it's just 20 gigabytes. In any case, it's the one for $9.99. Yeah, it's the $9.99 one for 2 gigabytes. Get that. Exactly. Brandon81 says go. Yeah, where to go? Where to go for the $9 a month download? Go to just type into your browser. Type in Adobe Creative Cloud Photography Plan. All right, and they might come up. Something might come up that says compare plans, because there's like 3 photography plans. Go for the one so Lightroom alone is $9.99, but you get the photography plan. You get the one with Photoshop, Lightroom, and 20 gigabytes for the same price. So I don't know why somebody would opt to get just Lightroom, you know. And then there's one for a lot more money, and you get, I think, a terabyte of cloud storage. But you don't need that. I mean, I don't need that. I shouldn't speak for you. Kenton TJ asks, what's the earliest version of Photoshop you used and what was it like? The earliest version I used was, I think it was CS, was it before? Yeah, it was before the Creative Suite. Photoshop 7? It was before CS. What was it like? I mean, it was like, it was good for what it was. I mean, you don't know what you're missing if you don't know what you're missing, you know? So in other words, you know, with each version, you realize, wow, now I can do that. But before that was even offered to you, you didn't even, you know, you just accepted for. I mean, it was limited. It was limited. But then computers were limited. In other words, the RAM in computers, you know, the hard drive space, the processing speed. I mean, the graphics card. I mean, they weren't powerful enough to handle a powerful application like Photoshop. So the more powerful Photoshop becomes, you need powerful computers to accommodate the software, you know, so the application. So it was okay. Good morning to my man. Good morning back at you. Let's see. Sir, Surfer says, sir, can you tell us how to make the auto trace from Photoshop work better? You know, I'll tell you that that's something I'm going to do. That's something I'm going to do also. So that's something on my list as well that I'm going to do. I can't, you know, I'll go over that in that tutorial. Let's see. Kalu asks, what is the best monitor for photo or film? I mean, the best monitor is the one with the highest resolution, I think, and the most has the most fidelity in terms of color range. You know, I mean, I'm working on an HP monitor. It's like a 16:9. You know, I've had it for a while, but yeah, I mean, you know, the higher, you know, 4K. I mean, the higher it is, the more resolution you have. It's great. But remember, you know, when you're posting stuff, you know, on the web, I mean, it's like the resolution is already pretty low, relatively speaking, like in YouTube, for YouTube at least. SLR 44 says the Adobe color range. Well, are you talking about let's see, where are you? Right here, color range. Talking about this? I mean, I've used color range. In a lot of tutorials. I didn't devote a whole tutorial on color range, you know. But if you type in color range in my channel, a bunch of my tutorials will in fact come up. Anyway, guys, we've been on for over an hour. It's about that time to say goodbye for now. But I really appreciate you hanging out with me and chewing the fat, as they say here in America. Yeah, I really, you know, I always look forward to do these things and have an opportunity just to chat with you and answer your questions if I can answer them at all, and you know, teach you something that I'm working on or did work on, and just as always, enjoy yourself, because life is short, and be kind to people, because that's probably the most important, for me anyway, the most important, the important thing that people can do for each other is to be kind. So yeah, so just I'll see you the next time, and take care of yourself. All right, bye bye.